Sorry, guys, I'm just waiting for this thing to start recording. Having issues since this morning. Log on to the Learn site for some reason. So if the connectivity is bad, if it goes again. Thank you all. Sorry, I think the bad weather's got something to do with it as well. Right, so I'm going to just pick up from where we stopped on Monday, and then try and complete the rest of this topic today. But I think I just want to highlight the difference again between the perpetual and the periodic inventory system. So the perpetual inventory system basically records your inventory levels, your movements, real time as they happen. So at any given point in time, you'll be able to access your accounting records or your online systems and be able to know how much of stock you have on hand or how much of sales has happened at a particular point in time. And at year end, what typically happens is if you do a stock take and you compare the records that you have on your stock take on hand against the stuff. The periodic system is different. The periodic system basically updates your inventory levels at year end. So when you physically do a stock, we then discover what your cost of sales or your stock on hand. So the difference here, when we're looking at the perpetual, we talk about inventory, and we look at this. Is important here to understand is under the periodic system that okay, so that's what we talked about last week. On Monday. So supplies, cash. All right, guys, I think we I don't.
Yes, we can see it now.
Now we can.
All right, sorry, man. This network's terrible. Look, let's just continue. If it happens again, then we'll make a decision. Maybe we just continue this on Monday because it's important. And with this breaking up like this, we're not going to be able to, excuse me, properly do this. So let's just continue and see how far we get. All right. So yes, as I said, that when you buy from your supplier, then you purchase for you pay for the transaction. You purchase the transactions basically on a cash basis or a credit basis, okay? And then you also have the ability to return goods to the supplier. Often or not, you may have been supplied with the wrong stuff, or the goods might have been damaged in transit, etc., for whatever reason, or there's a warranty claim by your customer that you have to return back to the supplier. When you return those goods, it reduces the amount of inventory you have on hand, and it also reduces the amount of debt that you basically owe to the purchaser, to the supplier. Likewise, when you sell these goods to your customers, your customers will have the ability, in terms of the Consumer Protection Act as well, to return goods for whatever reason, normally for a replacement, for a repair, or for a refund for whatever reason, right? So likewise, when you're selling on credit, you would raise that facility, and then you'll also, then when the customer returns those goods to you, you will have to credit or reduce that. So these things affects basically the amount of inventory you have on hand and also your cost of sales, because your sales to your customers and the returns will have an impact on your cost of sales. Okay. Then the third one, which is very, very important under number 5, is the issue that when you're dealing with a sole proprietor or directors of the entity, they may want to take inventory for their own use. So as we know, inventory for their own use is an equity transaction, equity dealing with contributions or transactions between the owners, right? That is treated as drawings that will also have an impact of reducing the levels of inventory we have on hand. So those are the four, the 5 main types. Also, now the last one is the year-end stock take. Now the stock take is critical for us because what it does, ladies and gentlemen, is the stock take basically tells us how much of goods do we physically have on hand. Also, the stock take verifies the condition or the quality of those goods. Sometimes you can have them sitting in a warehouse, but you're not sure if that warehouse was flooded or whether stock was stolen or things have not been kept in the manner it should have been kept and could have damaged the product. So your stock take not only verifies the quantity, but also qualifies the condition of that. So it implies that it tells you what is the value of your stock. So what happens at year end, you get the value of the stock that you have on hand by analyzing the number of goods you have on hand and the condition, right? And then you compare that to your records, your accounting records that you have. So what normally happens is you either have a deficit or a surplus, all right? So and then you have to make the adjustments accordingly to the inventory. Looking at when you're purchasing goods from suppliers, very simple. You debit inventory, you credit using purchase. Then allocate that. Less closing inventory. Bank. Correspondingly. Okay. Likewise, here again, you do the same thing. Only thing you're doing is crediting purchases. So I think that's what you need to understand, the difference between product inventory. And look at, okay, yeah. Let's look at this year-end stock. Be less or more than the keeping in your perpetual inventory system. you're updating your accounting records as each transaction takes place. That means each time you purchase, your inventory levels get updated. Each time there's a sale, the inventory levels get updated. Okay, I'm just going to stop there. Can you guys are you still with me and can you hear clearly?
I can hear you, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I thought I had lost connection again. Okay, so let's just go back. When it comes to the year-end stock count, so what I'm saying is this. In terms of the two systems, in the perpetual inventory system, like we said before, real time, these accounting records are adjusted every time there's a purchase or every time there's a sale, right? Excuse me. So at year-end, when we conduct the year-end stock count, that stock count will give us the actual amount of inventory on hand, okay? So that inventory level will either be more or less. Okay. Okay. So what we need to do here is look at that. So we compare that value against our accounting records. Okay. If it's a positive figure, right? If it's a positive figure, that means if it's more, then we got to debit our inventory, increase the value of our inventory, and we credit cost of sales. It's a gain, right? Right? Remember, cost of sales is an expense. So now when we do the stock check and we have surplus stock sitting there, which is more than our accounting records, we debit the inventory, increase the value of our inventory, and we credit our cost of sales, meaning reduce the value of our cost of sales. Remember, cost of sales is an expense. If there's a reduction in your expense, that is a gain. It's treated as an income. Okay. If it is negative, more often than not, it happens like this. It's negative. You debit your cost of sales, increasing your expenses, right? And you credit your inventory. You'll often find, ladies and gentlemen, when you do these things, you'll find that some goods have gone damaged, they've gone obsolete, or been stolen. Okay. So that is the problem. So more often than not, when you do the stock check, you'll find that you'll have to write down the inventory. So all you're doing here now is writing down the inventory. You're calculating the number of items and you're working out the price. Now we have to do one more step, and I'll come to that now. Okay. So part of your auditing life when you're doing articles will be involve a lot of stock taking when you're visiting clients. You're going to remember this when you do that. Okay. So it's a very, very important part for you to understand. Okay. Now, if you're looking at the periodic, let's see, where am I? Okay. If you're looking at the periodic inventory system, now remember with the periodic inventory system, we only calculate cost of sales at the year end when we physically do the stock take. Okay, so we need to calculate cost of sales. So we say debit cost of sales, credit inventory, opening balance. We debit cost of sales, credit purchases, net of returns, right? Net of your returns. Debit cost of sales, credit import duties, and all of those things. So please understand, go back to understand, how do I calculate cost of sales with my periodic systems? Opening inventory plus your purchases less your closing inventory gives you your cost of sales. Okay, this is what this journal entry is actually doing. Okay, right. Are there any questions, please, before we move on? And because this next slide here is quite important. When we started this lecture, 10,000 more complicated, because when we the weighted average method is a simpler method of recording. Okay. Right. Let me just stop recording there.